Welcome to Prody Academy, education for your business to help you be successful. My name is Zane Stevens. I'm the founder of Prody Financial, and I'm back to talk BOI again. Now, I'm hoping that this is sort of the end of it in whatever format it is. There will definitely be some updates coming up, but this might be the last of the roller coaster, or at least we're really hoping this is going to be the last of the roller coaster. Some major developments have happened since our last video, and it was so funny. I was like, as soon as this video goes out, I'm sure it's going to be, obsolete and new rulings are going to come out. And honestly, the video went out on the Tuesday, and by the Thursday, changes happened. So here I am to give you some more updates on what is going on with the BOI. And the short answer is there's been significant changes in what is expected from BOI reporting, especially for US-based companies and US-based citizens. So, on February 27th, 2025, the FinCEN announced the suspension of fines, penalties, and enforcement action related to BOI reporting under the Corporate Transparency Act. Now, if you remember, the penalties involved around this legislation were insanely, crazily expensive. You really would be putting yourself out of business if you did not comply with this regulation. And even though they were big, people like, no way they can enforce them, we're not going to worry about it, I'm just going to move on. Great. Well, I guess they agree, and they've pulled them away. What they've said, though, is this suspension will remain in effect until the forthcoming interim final rules is established. I mean, interim final rule already is confusing, right? The deadline to be specified therein in terms of reporting deadlines and what those penalties will look like. They plan on issuing these interim final rule by March 21st, 2025. So I'm recording this on March 7th. The video will probably go out early next week, March 10th. We've got about 2-3 weeks before we'll get a real answer on what's going on. And at those dates, they'll seek public comments and possible revisions to existing BOI reporting. So effectively, this is an old piece of legislation. These are things that should have been covered before it got passed and into law, but they're going to go through it again. Enough people not happy with it, we're going to try again. Subsequent to that ruling, on March 2nd, things changed again. The US Department of Treasury expanded this relief by announcing that it will not enforce penalties or fines against US citizens, domestic reporting companies, or their beneficial owners according to BOI reporting, even after the forthcoming rule changes taking place. So that's big, right? They said we're going to suspend it, we're not going to have these fines or penalties, we're going to have some new rulings, and then nope, another change. We've decided that if you're a US citizen, if your company is a US company, don't worry about it, fines are gone. They no longer apply to you. The big point that comes from this March 2nd release is that the Treasury intends to narrow the scope of BOI reporting requirements to apply solely to foreign reporting companies, aiming to support American taxpayers and small businesses while tailoring the rules to serve public interests effectively. So effectively what they're saying is, we understand this rule is making it very difficult for small businesses to do business because it is very expensive to stay compliant. If you think about positions like nonprofits, which would have fallen under the small business side of it as well, they have rotating boards and would have to see these things being changed on a regular basis, making it extremely difficult to stay in business. So they're pulling back, they're saying some changes. Now, I don't totally agree. I think there could have been a middle ground in this, that there's some reporting specifically on it, maybe exclude your nonprofits from these situations. But what they're saying, you know what, we're going to put it all the way back and we're just going to focus on foreign reporting companies because those are the ones we're really worried about money laundering. Because at the end of the day, this is what this is all about. It's about money laundering. Let's make sure that money is not being pushed into the wrong hands. So what does this do? What is the implications for businesses? These developments have a significant shift in regulatory approach of the BOI. Domestic businesses currently face no immediate enforcement actions related to BOI reporting, and forthcoming rule changes are expected to further reduce compliance obligations for the US-based entities. So there's a reduction. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen there. As it stands, pretty much if you're domestic, you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to worry about it for now. But I'm guessing with the March 21st deadline, we'll get some new rules for public comment that will tell you who should still be reporting from a domestic company standpoint. Now, there obviously are the rules for banks, financial institutions, for listed companies and what they have to report. I think there is still going to be some sort of subgroup of companies in the US that will have to report. Who knows if that is number of employees or revenue based? We will soon find out. But the reporting requirements are definitely going to be narrowed from everybody to some of us. We're not exactly sure what that looks like, but that information should come up. And obviously, we'll go to public comment like it did before the laws were instituted. Wish we had all sort of spoken up at the right time, but we're going through this process again. The current announcements by FinCEN and the Treasury Department represent a move towards reducing the burden. They're just trying to make it easier, because that is sort of what came out when all of a sudden these deadlines were around. Like, this is going to cost us a lot of money to stay compliant. Please, please do not do this. Again, comments that probably should have been said way in the beginning when it first came out for public comment. But here we are right now. As it stands, this is your takeaway. We're in a holding phase to figure out what the next steps are. It is most likely that a lot of companies will not have to comply with this legislation as the way it was written right now, and it will be a much narrower scope for domestic companies and US citizens. Foreign entities, you most likely are going to have to comply and make sure you report on time, because it does seem like they will be pushing big penalties on those entities. For now, the roller coaster is flat. It's smooth sailing. We've got a couple of weeks to figure out what the new rules are going to be. There'll be a public comment process. So I'm guessing it's a few months before we have to worry about this BOI again. As it comes up, I'll be able to share what I know. But for now, get on with your business, keep doing your best, and try to succeed.